I was on the balcony, watching the city blink through the cold glass like it owed me something. The air had that heavy silence, like the kind that comes before a storm or a car crash you can't stop. That's when my phone buzzed. Just one vibration. One message. It was from Emily. It's over. I'm leaving for a real man who gives me the emotions I crave at night. My lawyer will handle everything with your money. No, hi. No, sorry. No shame. Just a gut punch dressed up as a text message. It hit me like she slapped me from across town. I stared at the screen, reread it twice, then once more. The gall. The coldness. She'd said, real man. That phrase alone crawled under my skin and carved itself into my memory like graffiti etched into a bathroom mirror. I didn't text back right away. No. I poured another drink, downed it like poison, and let the silence stretch for 10 long, bitter minutes. Then I typed. As you wish. That was it. I didn't scream. I didn't call. I didn't beg. Instead, I walked straight to my home office, pulled out the folder labeled contingency plans, and clicked open my secure financial portal. One by one, I began freezing everything she had access to. Our joint accounts. Her credit cards. The lease on her car that I co-signed. All the cards in her little game. Flipped. Burned. Within an hour, Emily no longer had access to a dime. The best part? She didn't see it coming. You see, for the past year, I had noticed cracks in her porcelain smile. The late-night showers. The second phone she swore was just for work. The way she suddenly needed space to rediscover herself every other weekend at overpriced Airbnbs with ocean views. And how she'd stopped looking at me like I was her husband and started treating me like I was an unpaid intern at her personal life experiment. I knew something was off, but I didn't expect this. She traded in our life for some cheap adrenaline with a guy who probably whispers lies into her ear while taking her to overpriced rooftop bars. And now she had the nerve to let her lawyer take care of everything with my money? I closed my laptop, stood up, and took one long look at the house around me. The home I built. The walls she once painted with dreams and fake affection. It didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like a battleground that hadn't yet been declared. 3 days later, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Unknown number. Then again. I finally picked up. Mr. Parker, a voice began. I represent Mrs. Emily Parker. We need to discuss some urgent matters. She's asking if there's room for negotiation. I smiled cold, satisfied. The same way a man smiles when he finally hears the sirens he called himself. I already negotiated, I said. With silence. I hung up. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just another woman leaving a man for some temporary thrill. This was war. But the difference was Emily thought she was the one in control. She had no idea. And that was just the beginning. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't come like a thunderclap. It creeps in like a draft under the door, cold and unnoticed until you're shivering and wondering when it all started. I'd seen the warning signs with Emily, but I'd buried them under denial. Told myself it was stress. Work. Maybe even me. But now I was sifting through the wreckage of something I thought was real. After I froze her accounts, I sat back and started thinking, when did I first lose her? The answer came like a slow drip of poison. 3 months ago, she started saying she was exhausted after work, but her phone lit up like Times Square at midnight. She became guarded, defensive. Her phone, which used to sit screen up on the table, now lived face down like it had secrets. I remember once asking, everything okay? And she rolled her eyes like I was being clingy. That's when the gaslighting began. She told me I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that only insecure men spy on their wives. So I didn't press. I gave her space, trusted her, even when it hurt to do so. That was my mistake. Because while I was protecting her peace, she was stealing mine. There was a dinner, some fundraiser for her job at the firm. I showed up in a tailored suit, fresh shave, heart full of pride to be on her arm. But Emily? She didn't look at me once. She spent the entire night locked in conversation with a guy I'd never met before. Tall, smug, probably used his reflection as a mirror. They laughed like I wasn't there. She called him Sean, said he was just a client. Yeah, right. That night, when we got home, she said she was too tired for intimacy. Said she had a headache. Said she needed rest. I slept alone while she scrolled through her second phone in the bathroom with the door locked. I remember the exact moment I knew. It was small, insignificant to anyone else. A perfume. That wasn't hers. And it wasn't mine. The scent was on her blazer. A man's cologne. Expensive. Sharp. Lingering. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask. I just watched as she got better at lying. She began to rehearse her stories. Where she'd been. Why she didn't answer my calls. One time she came home saying she had been visiting her sick aunt. Funny, since her aunt had passed away 5 years ago. When I asked which one, she stuttered. Made up a name. Then laughed it off like I was being too serious. The woman I married used to light up when I walked into the room. Now she flinched, rolled her eyes, or acted annoyed. Like I was interrupting something more important. And maybe I was. Maybe I was interrupting a fantasy she built around this real man she texted me about. The one who gave her emotions at night. The one she felt alive with. But if he was so real, why was her lawyer calling me? That's what no one tells you about cheaters. They don't think past the thrill. They build their new life on borrowed time and someone else's money. Emily thought she was invincible. That I'd roll over. That I'd fund her fairy tale while she destroyed the one we'd already built. Instead, I set fire to it. Silently. Legally. Precisely. Now, I was done guessing. Done giving the benefit of the doubt. I had a plan, and I'd been gathering receipts. Literal ones. Photos. GPS logs. Call records. And soon, I was going to show her just how real I could be. Because if she wanted a man who played with fire, she was about to meet one who controlled it. It was a Thursday evening when I decided I wasn't going to wait anymore. I wasn't going to wait for Emily to come home late again with a weak excuse. I wasn't going to wait for her to slip up and confess. I wasn't going to let her humiliate me in silence another day. I was going to end the show my way. I waited until she walked through the door. Her heels clicked across the marble floor, a smug little rhythm like she owned the world. She was dressed to kill, tight black dress, fresh curls, too much lipstick. She looked at me like I was furniture. "Oh, you're still up," she said casually, tossing her purse on the counter like she hadn't just abandoned the marriage. "I was waiting," I replied, calm and sharp. "We need to talk." She groaned and rolled her eyes, as if I'd just asked her to take out the trash. "Seriously? Nathan? No? I've had a long night." "Oh, I bet you have." That got her attention. Her eyes flickered for half a second, nervous. But then that cold little smirk crawled back onto her face. "You're jealous again. Aren't you tired of this insecure crap?" I stood up slowly, walked over, and dropped a manila envelope on the kitchen island. She looked down at it like it was radioactive. "What's this?" "Proof," I said. "Receipts. Hotel bookings. GPS records. You've been sloppy." She opened the envelope. Her face changed. Not panicked, but angry. "This is insane," she hissed. "You went through my things?" "No, I went through my things. Because my money paid for most of this mess." She threw the envelope across the room. "You think you're some kind of detective now? You've lost your mind." "No," I said. "I finally found it." Then I looked her dead in the eye. "I know about Sean." Silence. Her mouth twitched, but she didn't deny it. Didn't even flinch. Instead, she laughed. Cold. Mean. The kind of laugh that could turn blood to ice. "Wow. You really were digging." I nodded slowly. "I know about the late nights, the lies, the burner phone. I know you've been seeing him for 6 months." She leaned back against the counter and crossed her arms, completely unbothered. "So what? What exactly are you going to do? Cry? Beg? Be a good little husband and keep paying for everything while I get what I need elsewhere?" Her voice was like a knife. But I didn't blink. "I already did something," I said. She frowned. "I froze every account you're tied to," I continued. "Credit cards? Gone. Joint savings? Locked. Your Tesla lease? Terminated. And that apartment you thought I didn't know about? Don't worry, it's not in your name anymore. Check your texts. Your lawyer probably messaged you by now." Her face, her beautiful, venomous face, went pale. "You're bluffing. Try buying your way out of it." Her phone buzzed right on cue. She snatched it from her purse and read the message. Her fingers trembled. You can't do this." "I already did." Her expression cracked. The first real crack. Like the mask had finally slipped, and the scared, selfish little girl underneath didn't know what to do. "You're insane," she whispered. "No," I said softly. "I just stopped playing dumb." She threw the phone at the wall. It shattered, screen first. Then she looked at me like she hated me. Not because I hurt her, but because I wasn't weak anymore. "You'll regret this," she spat. I stepped closer. "You thought I'd beg. You thought you'd leave, and I'd still fund your fantasy. But Emily, you forgot who I am." And just like that, she left. No apology. No shame. Just silence and broken glass. But that silence felt like power. The next morning, The house felt like an empty museum, cold, still, echoing with ghosts that used to be love. Her perfume still hung in the air like a toxic reminder. The shattered phone on the floor remained untouched, a small victory frozen in time. I didn't clean it up. Not because I couldn't. Because I wouldn't. Let it sit there. Let it rot with the lies she fed me night after night while pretending we were still something. I wasn't just mourning a marriage. I was burying an illusion. The silence was deafening, but it wasn't lonely. It was liberation. That morning, I did something I hadn't done in months. I made coffee and drank it on the porch, no distractions, no anxiety clawing at my chest, no wondering who she was texting under the table. Just me, the sunrise, and the brutal peace of knowing the truth. Then the phone call started. Her lawyer. Again. And again. Voicemails piling up like junk mail, desperate, frantic, suddenly urgent. Mr. Parker, Emily would like to resolve this civilly. She's willing to discuss terms. She's in a very emotional state. Perhaps we can come to a compromise? Compromise? Where was that energy when she was sneaking around behind my back, treating our marriage like a layover between fantasies? Where was this concern when she laughed in my face and said I wasn't a real man? I ignored the calls. Then came the texts. Nathan, please call me. Can we just talk? I didn't mean for things to get so ugly. Ugly? She burned down the house and was shocked when she got cinched. By day 3, she was outside my gate, dressed like a victim, makeup running, voice trembling, Oscar-worthy. She buzzed the intercom. Nathan, please. Let's just talk. I watched from upstairs, arms crossed. There she was, the same woman who told me, through text, that she was leaving me for someone who gives her the emotion she craves at night. Now standing outside in designer heels, begging for a second chance. I didn't even pick up the intercom. Just watched her pace, cry, call out my name like we were characters in a bad soap opera. And I felt nothing. Not hate. Not sorrow. Just nothing. She wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she never really was. I sat back and thought about everything, how easy it was for her to throw away our years together. How quick she was to degrade me, emasculate me, dismiss me as if I hadn't been the one building her comfort. And now that the comfort was gone, now I mattered? No. I thought about the moments she used to lie straight to my face. How confident she looked. How arrogant. The late returns, the fake meetings, the girls' nights that didn't smell like perfume but like aftershave and bourbon. It was all a game to her. And now that she lost, she wanted to change the rules. I finally picked up my phone, not to text her back, but to call my own lawyer. Proceed with the divorce. No alimony. No negotiations. I want the house, the stocks, and full control of the assets. She can keep the memories. I'm done. I hung up before the lawyer could even respond. Emily buzzed again. Then the intercom went silent. Eventually, she left. And I closed the curtains, not in sadness, but in relief. Because the worst part wasn't her cheating. It wasn't even the betrayal. It was how little I missed her now that she was gone. A week passed. No more calls. No more voicemails. Emily had finally gone quiet, probably realizing she no longer had leverage. Or maybe she'd run back to her real man, Sean. I pictured them sitting in some cheap loft, arguing over who's paying for takeout now that her platinum card was dead. I wasn't angry anymore. Just focused. I threw myself into the life I had neglected while trying to fix a woman who didn't want to be saved. Started hitting the gym again, cooking for myself, rebuilding my routines, without the weight of pretending everything was okay. That's the part they don't tell you about betrayal. It's strangely clarifying. You see everything sharper, colder, cleaner. One night, I was having dinner with an old friend, Marcus. He was the kind of guy who never liked Emily, said her smile didn't reach her eyes. You look good, man, he said. Lighter. I feel it, I admitted. He raised his glass. To losing dead weight. I smirked and clinked my glass. It felt good, like the first honest toast I'd had in years. But the peace didn't last long. 2 days later, I got a message from an unknown number. You think you've won? You're pathetic. You'll always be pathetic. He left me too. You happy? It was her. Emily. Clearly spiraling. She tried to make it sound like anger, but I heard the fear under it. Sean had bailed. Probably once the drama got too real or the money ran dry. That's what happens when your relationships are built on thrill instead of substance. They collapse the moment life gets complicated. She was alone, and it terrified her. What followed was a flurry of texts, some begging, some threatening, some trying to gaslight me into believing I had caused all this. You pushed me away. You were never emotionally available. I made a mistake, but we can still fix it. Fix it? She shattered it. She threw the pieces into traffic and watched them get crushed. Now she wanted to tape them together because her backup plan walked out? That's the kind of woman Emily was. Not sorry, just inconvenienced. Later that night, I got a call from her sister, Claire. Nathan, she said carefully, Emily's not doing great. She's staying with me for now. I stayed silent. She asked me to talk to you. Said she wants to see you. Said she wants to apologize. She had years to do that, I replied. I know. I just thought you should hear it. I appreciated Claire. She was nothing like her sister, grounded, decent, loyal. I knew this wasn't her mess to clean up. Thanks for the call, I said. But I'm done cleaning up after Emily's mistakes. I hung up, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel guilt. Didn't feel the need to be the bigger person. Didn't feel like explaining myself. She wanted freedom. She got it. But freedom without foundation is just falling. And Emily? She was in free fall. After I shut that last door emotionally and legally, I started to realize how much of myself I'd handed over without noticing. Years of being the provider, the protector, the fixer, and for what? To be thrown aside for a thrill she couldn't even keep? So, I started reclaiming myself piece by piece. First, the house. I redecorated. Not drastically, but enough. I took down the wedding photos and replaced them with artwork I actually liked. I got rid of the pastel throw pillows she insisted on and tossed the fancy china she never used. The place started to feel like mine again. Not ours. Not hers. Mine. Then came the garage. I pulled the cover off the project car I'd neglected for 2 years, an old '67 Mustang I used to restore on weekends before Emily guilted me into wine tastings and gallery events with people I couldn't stand. I got my hands dirty again, and I loved it. Each bolt I turned, each scratch I buffed, it was therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind she dragged me to where I had to sit across from a stranger while Emily played victim and twisted every argument into a monologue about how I wasn't present enough. It wasn't that I wasn't present. I was exhausted. I was fighting for someone who'd already checked out. One afternoon, I opened my inbox and found a message from my lawyer. Final paperwork submitted. Divorce will be processed in 2 weeks. Assets secured. No alimony. No contest. No contest. That meant she gave up, either out of shame or because she knew she couldn't win. It should have felt like victory, but it didn't. It felt like escape. And that's when it hit me. I didn't want revenge anymore. Not really. I didn't care if she cried herself to sleep or moved on to the next fool. I didn't need to track her downfall or keep tabs on her failures. I was done. I started sleeping through the night again. No more checking the clock at 2 a.m. wondering where she was or if she'd come home smelling like regret. I stopped replaying the lies. I stopped blaming myself for not being enough. Because I was enough. She just wasn't worthy of what I offered. That shift changed everything. Even my friends noticed. Marcus said it best. You're not carrying dead weight anymore, bro. You're finally walking like your shoulders are your own. I began saying yes to things again. Drinks with friends. Weekend hikes. A trip I'd put off for 3 years. I even started talking to people, really talking. No filter. No walking on eggshells. I was myself again, and damn. I'd missed that guy. And then, one evening, I got an unexpected call. Hey, said a soft voice. It's Claire. Emily's sister. I'm not calling for her. I swear. I thought you should know something. I paused. Go ahead. She's moving. Some tiny apartment downtown. Looks rough. I think she's trying to start over. Good for her, I said without emotion. Claire hesitated. She's not doing great, Nathan. I sighed. Neither was I. For years. But no one noticed then. I noticed, she said quietly. She took advantage of your loyalty. I'm sorry for that. That surprised me. Thank you, I said. But I'm good now. Really? Claire didn't push. She just wished me well and hung up. And for a second, I sat there, not with pain, not with regret, just peace. Because the rebuild wasn't about getting back at Emily. It was about building a life she could no longer poison. 2 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. It came in a simple email. Finalized. Official. Free. That last word stuck with me, free. Not because I'd been trapped by Emily's lies, but because I'd let myself believe I needed her. That we were a team. That the years we spent together had value she would never throw away. But she did. And now? I was better for it. What came next surprised even me. I started running again. Early mornings. No headphones. Just the sound of my feet against pavement and my breath sinking with sunrise. There's something sacred about solitude when you're no longer running from silence, but into it. One morning, while passing the park near my office, I ran into an old colleague, Rachel. We'd worked on a nonprofit fundraiser years ago, and I remembered her being smart, fiery, real. The kind of woman who looked you in the eye and told you the truth. "Nathan," she asked, pulling her earbuds out. "Wow, I almost didn't recognize you. Guess that's what a few pounds of dead weight does to a man," I grinned. She laughed. Not the fake polite kind I'd gotten used to with Emily's friends. This was genuine. We talked for half an hour, both sweaty and winded, but it felt natural. She wasn't prying. She wasn't pitying. She just listened. Before we parted ways, she said, "Let's catch up sometime. Coffee." And just like that, I said yes. Not because I was trying to replace anyone. Not because I wanted to prove something. But because I was curious again. Open again. Alive again. The next few weeks were a quiet rebirth. I started doing things for me. Simple things. Cooking real meals. Reading books I actually liked. Taking trips with no itinerary. And everywhere I went, I noticed something strange. I wasn't checking my phone every 5 minutes. I wasn't waiting for drama. I wasn't bracing for betrayal. I was at peace. One night, I sat in the garage, polishing the Mustang's chrome bumper, and it hit me. This is what healing looks like. Not grand speeches. Not fiery revenge. But peace. Stability. Being proud of the life you live without needing someone else to validate it. Emily had called once. I didn't answer. She left no voicemail. Just her name blinking on the screen like a memory I'd already deleted. I let it go. That call didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that she no longer had a place in my mind. No more fantasies about closure. No more daydreams of her regret. Whether she was crying herself to sleep or dancing on a yacht with some other fool, it wasn't my business anymore. She lost her access. One night, Marcus and I were at a rooftop bar, catching up over drinks. He leaned back and looked at me for a moment. "You know, you're not just back to who you were. You're better." "Better how?" I asked. "You've got scars," he said. "But now, you're wearing them like armor, not wounds." I nodded, letting that sink in. He was right. Emily had broken the version of me that was built to please, to endure, to fix. But in doing so, she revealed the man who didn't need fixing. A man who could walk away with his dignity, even when someone tried to bury it. And now? Now I wasn't surviving anymore. I was thriving. And damn, it felt good. I used to believe heartbreak was this loud, cinematic moment, like something out of a movie where the guy falls to his knees in the rain and screams at the sky. But the truth? It's quieter than that. Heartbreak is standing in a kitchen full of memories, realizing the person you loved wasn't real, not the way you thought. It's seeing their side of the closet empty and not feeling sorrow, but relief. It's learning how to breathe again without asking yourself what you did wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. That was the hardest truth to swallow. Because for so long, Emily had me questioning everything. If I worked too much, I was neglectful. If I stayed home, I was clingy. If I asked about her day, I was prying. If I didn't, I was emotionally distant. I kept adjusting, reshaping, trying to fit into this mold that she claimed she needed, when really, all she wanted was someone to blame. It was never about me. It was always about her emptiness and how she tried to fill it with chaos. Now, with distance, I see it all clearly. Emily wasn't in love with another man. She was in love with the idea of escaping. And when real life showed up, bills, accountability, commitment, she ran. Over and over again. And now? She's running in circles. Meanwhile, I'm building something. Something real. Steady. Honest. Rachel and I did go for that coffee. And then another. And another. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people who'd both been through storms and were finally enjoying the sunlight. She didn't need saving. And neither did I. We just talked. Listened. Laughed in ways that felt earned. And it made me realize how much I've been missing. Love isn't about fireworks and drama. It's about presence, respect, consistency. Emily treated me like a stepping stone. Rachel treated me like a man worth knowing. It's not about jumping into something new to numb the old pain. It's about remembering who you were before the damage and growing beyond it. And if anyone's reading this, any man going through that storm right now, let me leave you with this. You don't lose when she walks away. You lose when you chase after someone who spit on your worth. You don't owe her your pain. You don't owe her another explanation. You owe yourself peace. Freeze the accounts. Lock the doors. Let the silence fall. Because the man who survives betrayal isn't weak. He's forged in it, hardened by it. And eventually, he rises not bitter, but better. So here I am. Not a victim, not a cautionary tale. Just a man who walked through the fire and came out flame-proof. And to Emily, if you ever read this, thank you. Not for the heartbreak, but for the lesson. You taught me exactly what I will never settle for again. And in doing that, you set me free.